And I am of the strongest opinion that you have.
Hello and welcome to the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says imposing tariffs on allies is wrong after Donald Trump threatens duties over Greenland. Trump plans 10% tariffs by February, raising to 25% by June. Germany says Europe is preparing united countermeasures against President Trump's tariff threats over Greenland. Berlin vows not to be blackmailed as European Union partners coordinate a joint response. Donald Trump tells Norway's Prime Minister the world is not safe without US control of Greenland. His remarks escalate tensions with Europe over the future of the Danish territory. Global business and political leaders, including President Trump, arrive in Davos as the World Economic Forum opens. The agenda focuses on wealth inequality, AI, trade tension, and declining global trust. An Iranian official says at least 5,000 people, including 500 security personnel, are killed in nationwide protests. Authorities blame terrorists and rioters, with the heaviest clashes in Kurdish areas of northwest Iran. The U.S. Department of Justice says it sees no basis for a criminal civil rights investigation into the ICE agent who fatally shot Rennie Good in Minneapolis. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says standard internal reviews apply, while the Department of Justice is instead investigating Minnesota officials for allegedly encouraging protests. At least 39 people are killed after two trains collide near Cordoba in southern Spain. Over 70 are hospitalized as authorities launch an investigation into the cause. Syria declares a nationwide ceasefire with Kurdish-led forces after nearly 2 weeks of fighting. The deal integrates the SDF into state institutions and restores government control over key regions. All right, viewers, now in a joint press conference with his French counterpart, Roland Lescure, the German Vice Chancellor and Minister of Finance, Lars Klingbeil, has expressed Europe's readiness to take countermeasures if US President Donald Trump follows through on his tariff threats concerning Greenland. Let's listen in.
Und Frankreich sind einig, wir lassen uns nicht erpressen. Es wird eine geschlossene, eine deutliche Antwort Europas geben, und wir bereiten jetzt mit unseren europäischen Partnern geschlossene Gegenmaßnahmen vor. Für den Fall bereiten wir sie vor, dass Präsident Trump seine Zolldrohung aufrechterhält.
Klingbeil emphasized that both countries would not back down from protecting their economic interests, warning that any attempt to impose tariffs on Greenland would prompt strong responses from the European Union. This comes after Trump's previous threats to impose tariffs on Greenland, which has sparked considerable tension between the US and key European allies. All right, now my colleague, viewers, Sander Van Hoon, who is a European Union journalist from Amsterdam, joins me in this discussion. Sander, thanks very much for joining me in this discussion. Firstly, what's your opinion of the fact that Donald Trump wants the invitees, to pay a sum of money as far as the peace plan is concerned? And how do you see the resistance that's coming now against US President Donald Trump on his bid to acquire Greenland from the European nations?
Well, they are fed up with Washington, but that's basically what you hear in the quarters of Brussels. They want to make a stand more than they did in the last round of discussions about the trade war. Then the message was, we want to appease Donald Trump, not making him angry. This time around, things seems to have changed. They want to make a stance. They are talking about imposing a 93 billion euro import tariff countermeasure, which translates to roughly $110 billion. And that's a package basically that was there when they discussed the trade agreement last time. So it's there and it can be quickly implemented. European Parliament, for example, is threatening to hold off ratifying a trade deal that was struck with the United States. So the European Union, more than last time, is trying to make a stance. And you hear it in the language as well. As you mentioned, words like a bad signal, blackmail, those are the words being used now to describe what Donald Trump is doing.
Do you think European Union is ready to counter Trump should he not deter from his aggression and his advancements towards Greenland?
Well, as always, unity is the key word to look for in the European Union. There's always countries that differ on the approach, and that is something that will be discussed today in Brussels, but especially on Thursday when state leaders are gathering in Brussels, organized, not planned meeting between the leaders to discuss all of this. Now, decisions are not expected this week because they want to wait and see what can be discussed with Donald Trump. There will be a face-to-face moment where they will meet Donald Trump, for example, in Davos, Switzerland, the World Economic Forum. They will try to make their case and see if Donald Trump backs down on his threats. If not, early February, when the tariffs are imposed by Donald Trump, as he said he would, then there will be a strong European reaction.
Do take us through the countermeasures that the European Union is planning. Also, do talk to us about the anti-coercion policies that Macron had spoken about invoking.
Well, that's called the bazooka here in Brussels.
Yeah.
And that means that basically whole sectors of the American market can be blocked from entering the European joint market. So that will be like really a bazooka, a strong measure, because basically you prevent them from trading in this huge economic bloc that is the European Union. Now, when I talked first about the tailored sanction package of close to 110 billion US dollars, that is something that has been agreed on already by all 27 EU member countries. And that is something that can be implemented rather soon. Using this bazooka, on the other hand, is a whole different measure that will have to be discussed among European leaders, and then cracks will become clear. And that is something that they want to avoid because they agree on one thing, that is that strong language is necessary right now. For strong language, you need unity. And unity is something that the European Union wants to project. So they basically want to steer away from things that can cause disunity. And using this bazooka is one step too far right now. But the words of Donald Trump when it comes to Greenland have driven Europe closer together already. So if he continues on that path, using this bazooka further down the line may well be an option.
All right, sure. Sander, thanks very much then for joining me in this discussion. Viewers, now moving ahead, let's also tell you that the Kremlin has said that Russian President Vladimir Putin has been invited to join US President Donald Trump's Board of Peace, and that Moscow is studying the proposal and hopes for contacts with Washington concerning it. Russia has been largely diplomatically isolated by the West in the wake of its invasion of Ukraine. The Board of Peace, which will act as an umbrella oversight body for Gaza and which Trump will chair, will largely be made up of heads of state from around the world. Leaders from a range of countries in the Middle East and across the world have been invited. As per reports, the member states would be limited to 3-year terms unless they pay $1 billion each to fund the board's activities and earn permanent membership. All right, viewers, on your screens are the members of the Gaza Board of Peace. As of now, 7 members have been announced. However, noteworthy here is that there is no woman in this board of peace, nor is there any Palestinian. Gaza board of peace is devoid of any Palestinian member, and it is also a male dominated board. And now moving ahead, viewers, let's cover some news from Israel, where Israelis have protested outside the Knesset in Jerusalem, calling for an independent commission into the October 7 attacks. This comes as the Israeli government earlier told the High Court of Justice that it has no legal authority to compel the establishment of a state commission of inquiry into the failures surrounding Hamas's October 7 attacks, saying that such a move would constitute an unprecedented breach of the separation of powers. Let's in fact listen in to what some protesters are saying.
גם הבוקר הגענו לכאן כדי להשמיע את קולנו. גם הבוקר הגענו לכאן להגיד לכולם שלא נעבור בשקט על אירועי מחדל 7 באוקטובר. גם הבוקר ניכנס לתוך הכנסת וניתן את דעתנו באשר לעוד חוק פוליטי שהם רוצים להקים. גם הבוקר נתעקש על דבר אחד, ועדת חקירה ממלכתית כשמה וכלשונה בחוק.
Stand here to demand that they're gonna put on a national committee to check what happened on the 7th of October. We're not gonna stop until they're gonna set up the right committee to check it. This is not the right way to do it. They're discussing it right now inside, and we're not gonna let it happen. We want them to check the facts, the actual facts, what happened.
Joining me in this discussion is retired Major General A.K. Siwaj, who is a geostrategic expert from New Delhi. Thank you very much, General, for joining me in this discussion. Firstly, how do you view the developments that are taking place as far as the investigation into the October 7 attack is concerned? Do you think the state is really valid in saying that the High Court of Justice has no authority in telling it about the failures of the state commission that was constituted? How is this going to be a fair probe against Netanyahu when the committee in itself is picked up by him?
Very correct. See, what has happened on 7th October 2023 is very unfortunate, and there is a complete failure of intelligence as well as the security apparatus of Israel. And that is how the Hamas could infiltrate and did a genocide wherein they killed almost about 1,200 people, and they took about 250 people as hostages. So there is no denying the fact it was a failure on the part of the government of Israel. But certainly thereafter no formal inquiry could be conducted. And because the point where Netanyahu always gave excuse that the war is on and this is not a time to carry out an inquiry. The investigation will be carried out once everything settled down. Now the people are coming in the streets. They are there in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. They are saying, and especially who are affected by this. These are the victims. These are the families of the hostages. And there are certain other people who are saying that justice must prevail and there should be an independent investigation ordered by the High Court rather than the investigation carried out by the government, because they do not have confidence in the government. They feel that if the government, which has failed itself in guarding the people, and if they are the one which are holding this investigation and inquiry, that will be biased and influenced in any way. So that is where the problem is coming, that the High Court Court of Inquiry, which is to be ordered, will be totally political, which will be transparent. That should carry on. So there is a now tussle going on, where the government, especially Netanyahu, is saying basic three things. One, they are saying that it is the government to decide which type of investigation to be carried out. The judiciary cannot dictate terms. The second thing where Netanyahu is saying that it is very important to understand that there was a tiff going on between the government and the courts, because the Netanyahu want to curb their power. He says in case the investigation carried out by a court of inquiry or commission of inquiry ordered by the court, it will be influenced and it will go against the government. So there is a tussle going on the both sides, but certainly the people are on the street. They want our investigation to be carried out by order by the court, which will be more transparent, more objective, and which will bring out the truth as to how security failure took place, and that's how Hamas could do a genocide on 7th October 2023.
General, would you would know that there are elections also upcoming in Israel. Would you say that there is going to be any, will it have any influence on the current standing of Netanyahu?
You know, this is a question which is one can't really say. You know, the point is that Netanyahu popularity was very low ebb when 7th October 2023, when genocide was created by Hamas. However, after that, the whole attention was diverted in to get after Hamas, and this almost about 1.5 years has gone, wherein Israel is fighting against Hamas, and they have managed to curb a lot of military power of Hamas. Hamas is on the back foot now. There is a peace talk which has already taken place, and this peace plan which is there, it is now been implemented. Stage 1 has been already implemented, that is ceasefire. Then the second one will be disarming of Hamas, and Board of Peace has been already ordered by Donald Trump. Now, point which is there is, certainly it is going to make a difference that what happened on 7th October 2023, and also if the Commissioner of Inquiry blame Netanyahu government and point a finger toward that there is a failure on the part of the state, obviously it will go against Netanyahu and it will make an impact on the coming election.
All right, thank you very much, General Siraj, then for joining me in this discussion. And with that, viewers, we're now going to proceed to cover news from Spain now, where in a tragic incident, at least 39 people were killed and 122 were injured after a high-speed train derailed and collided with an oncoming train in southern Spain. The accident, which took place near Adamuz in the province of Cordoba, is the country's worst rail disaster since 2013. Approximately 400 passengers were aboard the two trains, one traveling from Malaga to Madrid and the other from Huelva. The trains were operating at high speeds, with one traveling at about 200 km per hour at the time of impact. Survivors of the crash described scenes of chaos and horror. Let's listen in to what survivors, the family members and Red Cross officials are saying.
Entonces yo me empecé a levantar un poco y ahí es cuando dije ya está, esto yo viajo mucho en tren y esto no es normal. Y ahí es cuando miré a mi hermana. O sea, la busqué y fue el último momento que yo recuerdo antes de que todo estuviera oscuro. Y de repente solo se escuchó gritos.
¿Cómo saliste del tren?
Me ayudó gente que estaba bien, rompieron los cristales y me sacaron porque yo estaba con mucha sangre.
Estaba en Madrid y de vuelta ocurrió lo que sabéis. Nosotros en familia nos recibimos una llamada de un sanitario porque él había perdido el móvil en el accidente y hemos venido con lo puesto.
Hemos montado un centro de atención, ¿no?, a todas aquellas personas que están en busca de información, en búsqueda de personas con las cuales no han podido todavía contactar, y es el punto más cercano al lugar del accidente en el cual lo hemos podido montar, dado que el acceso a la vía está totalmente restringido y además es un camino, en este caso, de servicio, y no es factible que puedan acercarse tanto, mientras además todavía están trabajando los equipos de rescate, ¿no? El lugar de acceso para las ambulancias pues era difícil, no es un camino ancho, es un camino de un solo sentido, y entonces la coordinación de entradas y salidas de las ambulancias fue un poco más compleja, y luego, por supuesto, también los autobuses, ¿no? Porque incluso muchos de ellos tuvieron que andar parte del recorrido por las vías porque no hay acceso hasta el mismo convoy, hasta el mismo tren en muchos de los casos.
And we now move on to cover news from Japan, where Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi has announced a snap election for February 8. staking her political future on the outcome. She is seeking voter support for a plan that includes increased spending, tax cuts, and a new defense strategy to accelerate Japan's military buildup. The election will decide all 465 seats in Japan's lower house and mark Takaichi's first electoral test since becoming Japan's prime minister, first female premier in October 2025. She promised a 2-year halt on the 8% consumption tax on food, which is expected to cost the government around 5 trillion yen or $32 billion per year. Her spending plans are expected to create jobs, increase household spending, and boost other tax revenues. However, the move has already impacted Japan's bond market, with the yield on the country's 10-year government bonds reaching a 27-year high. I request Dr. Satoru Nagao, fellow at the Huntsman Institute of Tokyo, to join me in this discussion. Thanks very much, Dr. Nagao. It's a pleasure to have you in this discussion. Firstly, how do you view Takaichi's statements that have now come in, where she says that she is putting her own political future at stake with these snap elections? Do you think that's really the case, or her political standing is very firm at this point in time, that's giving her the confidence to call for these snap polls?
Thank you very much for inviting me. There is a high possibility that the current ruling party, LDP, will increase the number of the seats which lost when the Prime Minister was Ishiba. So that's why, view from the approval rate of the Prime Minister Takaichi, this is the best timing to increase or taking back the seat in the national diet. That is true. But concerning point is, which parties will lose their seat instead of the increasing LDP? There are the two types of scenario. First scenario is left-wing opposition party will lose the seat and LDP will increase the seat. In this case, Prime Minister Takaichi's policy is right-wing, and especially she focusing on national security, which establishing the new intelligence ministry or agency, or the easing the restriction of the weapon export, or the increasing the defense budget. These issues will be going through in the national diet very smoothly. But at the same time, because of this is too ideal situation, if the Prime Minister Takaichi will commit to amendment the Article 9 of the Constitution, because this issue is very tough decision, so that's why she spent huge energy to amend this constitution, and other policy will face a shortage of the energy or resources she can spend. So that's why even if the left-wing opposition party lose a member of the national diet, still there is a concerning point of her. But anyway, generally this will be the ideal for her. Another scenario is indeed concerning point of her is right-wing opposition party will lose the seat instead of the increasing the governmental ruling party LDP. In this case, right-wing opposition party is opposition party, so that's why the LDP do not need to care about it. But reality, view from the what happened when the national diet talk about the security issue, indeed this is very important. Because currently the opposition party are divided to the both right-wing and left-wing. When the national security issue need to talk in the national diet, opposition party fight with the opposition party each other, and LDP, the ruling party, cannot be the main target of the attack from the left-wing opposition parties. So that's why this right-wing opposition party could be the buffer zone, and the LDP can escape from the attack from the left parties so much. That's why it is relatively easy to go through the security policy of the PM Takaichi. But if these right-wing opposition party lose their seat in the national diet because voters will support LDP, the ruling party, instead of the right-wing opposition parties, in this case, LDP increased the seat, but LDP could be the main target of the left-wing opposition parties. And because the left-wing opposition party cannot win because of the number in the national diet, that's why they will not fight in the discussion. Instead of this, they try to find a scandal or emotional discussion they try to choose, and it will not become the discussion about national security. Just a scandal politics will come because of the left-wing opposition party. That was the traditional Japan's decision-making in the past, and it will return to that traditional pattern. That is not a good situation for the democracy, which should discuss national security as a policy, not a scandal. So that's why what will happen in the next elections is key point of the next election is who will lose their seat in the national diet, indeed, left or right. Anyway, the LDP will win, but the opposition party's seat is matter, indeed.
Okay, sure. Dr. Nagao, thank you very much for your assessment of the situation in Japan for our viewers. And with that, viewers, that's a wrap on this episode of the World Report on NewsX World. Thanks for staying tuned for all international news and updates right here.